Hey, good afternoon, Drew. It's great to see you.
Hey, good morning to you too, man.
I'm hoping you've been having a good week. We've been exchanging some emails back and forth. We've been talking about, what we're scheming, what we're going to be doing, now and in the future with our correspondence. Pretty unique situation with me working here in the Kansas, Missouri area around Kansas City, and you incarcerated there back in Washington State. It's been an awesome journey to date, sharing multiple book reviews and talking big ideas. And we got this framework that we're continuing to try to refine based on our life experiences. And today we want to get after talking about a book that we read a little while ago, The Artist's Journey. And yeah, pretty significant book. I think it's a good time for us to read it, written by Stephen Pressfield. Because I think he gets after, what it is, what are the key attributes to trying to create something that might be part of your true self, your inner truth, your uniqueness to this world. And so I think it's pretty cool that, for us to, reach back and go over this book again, even though we did it once before. So what do you think? Over to you.
Well, I'm having a little trouble hearing you, but I'm following you. And I know what you're thinking and talking about. Stephen Pressfield, we read a lot of his books. We read Do the Work, The Artist's Journey, I think The War of Art as well. And this guy has a wonderful way of connecting the vicissitudes of his life's journey to the quality of his work. And one thing I really like about it is that your journey is your life and all the things that it's entailed to bring you to the point where your life can have some sort of value or impact. Okay, let me explain what that means to me as a prisoner. Okay, my life has not followed an ideal path. I mean, no one in elementary school dreamed about, well, at least no normal person dreamed about going to prison for multiple decades of their life. And I'm not saying that that was the perfect plan for my life, but there's a difference between a perfect plan and a permissive plan. And Stephen Pressfield talks about that permissive plan, that sometimes life, you go through valleys. And if there is no valley, there is no mountaintop, period. And a lot of us want this like mountaintop experience life minus the valleys, but you just cannot have a mountaintop if there's not also a valley connected to it. And that is the journey of life. And so one thing in this the book, The Artist's Journey, which you showed the cover of the book, is the hero's journey. And I think it's learning to embrace what you've been through in your life, not dwelling on it, but allowing it to become food and fuel for where your life is going to go in the future. Some people, and especially here in prison, can get so hung up on their past that they never walk into a future. So I really like that. I'm ready to get into talk about some of these points of this book, but I'll pass it back to you, and you can give me a few things that you remember, because we read this book months ago, that you remember jumping out to you.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's a pretty quick read, so I jumped back into it and read it again. But I liked how you brought up the, I think one of the key aspects of this book, and that is Stephen Pressfield's emphasis, that everybody, has a hero and actually multiple heroes' journeys in their lifetime. And then he says that actually there comes a day, when after you've had some life experience, that you take the next step towards actually trying to create, something from your inner core, your inner self, and you start that artist journey. And that's when you start tapping into, what is that inner force? He talks about it being the muse, the daemon, or that super conscious inside of you that helps you create something that's really special from you. And he also says that, hey, every time you sit down, and whether you're drawing something, or for maybe even you with making woodwork, or you're writing that your latest contribution of, thoughts, for the day. As you start shuttling back and forth between the physical world that you live in and that super conscious that everybody has, and you start going back and forth, he even calls that the micro hero journey, because you're actually going out into the abyss and bringing back some gold, bringing back the bounty, for others to benefit from. And I really like that analogy of both of those, of the multiple heroes journey that people have in their life, whether it's Luke Skywalker, or Dorothy, you know, in that old movie. Shoot, I should know the title of it, but Dorothy. I'm spacing it. What's the Kansas?
The Wizard of Oz?
The Wizard of Oz, yeah, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Going on that experience, right? I should know that. Be living in Kansas now, but. Though that to me, that's what we like breaking things out into groups of three. The hero and the artist journey. I think those are two key messages that he has, and I believe you're on your own hero's journey, and have had multiple of them, and I am as well. And I think it's pretty cool that we're coming together now, trying to create, some collaborative work that I think is going to be part of our personalized artist journeys. So. I think that's a big takeaway for me. Back to you.
No, that's really good, man. I really like what Stephen Pressfield said. He says you have to learn the artist journey, and as well as the hero's journey. He said you have to learn how to start and keep going, and how to let go. I've been working out and weight training for 20 plus years now. But one thing I was never really good at, and I do it nowadays because I'm really an advocate of like circuit training, CrossFit, cross training, is running. And I don't know what it is about running, man, but it makes me want to reach for my quit switch. And I don't know if you have ever had one when you were going through Ranger School or Special Operations Selection. But man, I'll launch out into a run, man, and I'll tell myself, hey, we're going to run 2 miles today. And I guarantee you, man, by that first mile, something in my subconscious is going to want to reach for the quit switch.
Yeah.
And I understand I'm just talking about running, but I'm using running like an underlying metaphor to like, it could be a marriage, it could be a business, it could be your health. The fact of the matter is that anything worth having and maintaining in your life is going to be difficult, because if it was easy, this is what we say on the way dead. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it's not easy. To be in shape, and not even just to be in shape, but I mean to have a level of fitness that's above average, it's difficult, but it's possible to obtain. But you have to acknowledge the difficulties that are part of the success journey. And there are things that you and I want to achieve together. Books that we plan on writing, a daily azimuth, speaking engagements. But if I don't acknowledge that, hey, man, mile 1 or the second mile into this, man, my legs are going to start, my lungs are going to be burning, my legs are going to be aching, and I'm going to start coming up with all these mental excuses why I need to cut this short. I could start dumbing down my dreams.
Yep.
And I like how the one key point that Stephen Pressfield says is you need to learn how to let go. I don't know what it is when I'm running, but my mental headspace determines how well that run goes. And the minute I start telling myself, oh man, this is difficult. Oh, this sucks. Oh, I did legs yesterday. That's why my legs aren't working as well. The minute I start that negative cycle and I don't have that grateful flow going in my life, that's when I start really reaching for that quit switch. Yeah. And I really like how Stephen Pressfield honed on that. There's something that we need to acknowledge, even in our own journey here, is that there's going to be pushback. There's going to be resistance. And maybe you were going to talk about that next. I don't know. But he says you have to identify what is your resistance.
Yep. I think there's great beauty in that. And He called it the big R resistance, and he says everybody faces
Yeah.
it. That's the dragon that's guarding the gold, and you got to have the muster the courage, and you got to go for it, and you gotta circumvent and get around the self sabotage that you'll have, and what you got to do is you got to do the work, you got to show up every day, you need to fuel your passion, and you got to persevere, and if you do that and you keep on showing up to that muse, the muse will deliver. The muse will give you the bounty, and you'll be able to bring that back to the real world. And I think resistance, it pervades your life all over the place. I think that's part of the cross that we bear in this world, and that's one of our challenges, is to be able to think differently and to transcend some of those obstacles. And so, another book that we got coming up, that we'll review next weekend. 10x is easier than 2x, and I think there's a lot of similarities in the themes there, because if you can think about your life differently and focus on the actions that really make a difference, that can magnify what you actually really accomplish. And I think that's part of the resistance too, is you got to do the right things, and you got to have the discipline to think about it. But yeah, so I really resonated with what you highlighted there. The last piece to me is you got to open up the pipeline. You got to spend the dedicated time, to connect with your superconscious. I think this really connects with a previous book that we read as well, called Deep Work. You got to get away from the distractions in life, and you got to put in the time, focus time, and really tap into that. And then that's when you're really going to, harvest the field. And so I've been working personally, now that we started this, getting serious about this journey. I think I'm on day 22 now of trying to do, nonstop, morning journal events, where I'm, gathering my thoughts, digging into what's meaningful, and trying to, add value to, this artist journey that we're going on, related to the Colonel and the Convict. And so it has me pretty motivated.
Ryan Holiday wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And I really find there's a lot of parallels and similarities between what Ryan Holiday said when he talked about the obstacles the way, and Stephen Pressfield's The Artist's Journey. And there's a quote that I have for you. It says, "The opportunity of a lifetime must be seized within the lifetime of that opportunity." There's a window for all of us, and that's why this material is so important. It's important to me. Stephen Pressfield's books, also Ryan Holiday's books. We have this one lifetime. Even within that lifetime, you don't have your entire life to do certain things. A lot of times you have seasons. You have seasons and windows of opportunity within that lifetime to accomplish certain things. And that's why I feel that the SHEARS mental model that we have, the development of skills, habits, and energy, which leads to attitudes, relationships, and ultimately the service you bring to the world. That's why I believe this is so important, so critical. I think the important thing is learning how to see your life as part of that training ground. When you have bitterness, when you have blaming in your life, it disempowers you from really being able to use the things that happen to you in life, good, bad, or indifferent, to fuel you for whatever uniqueness you're going to bring to the world. And that's not to condone poor decision making, or that we should keep falling on our face because, doggone it, we get a better look at the concrete when we're down there. That's not what we're trying to accomplish. What is my resistance? A lot of times I try to say my resistance is the Department of Corrections. The reason I'm not doing more writing or journaling or going through these books as quickly as I need to. But a lot of it is just mismanaging my own mental space, my own time. Eliminating, and sometimes the key to getting ahead of life is not what you need to add, but what you need to subtract.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm when I'm cooking, in prison we make all sorts of little prison meals, right? And you know, if you're making like a Thai sauce, you know, it's soy sauce plus peanut butter plus spices plus this plus that, and really to make that sauce, it's not about just dumping more brown sugar in it. Sometimes it's learning how to pull back on something. A lot of times I think that the sauce of our life is going to be made perfect by just adding a bunch of things to it.
Yeah.
I just start throwing this at it, throwing that at it. And sometimes it's not about adding more ingredients. It's just about pulling back some of the ingredients that have been put in there, neutralizing it a little bit. I need to neutralize some of the things that are eating up my time, even my mental time. If I want to have a better thought life, I need to just be very discerning about the things that I'm allowing to enter into my mind. So,
yep. Hey, Drew, I really like that. You know, there was a general that I used to work for, and he called it the rock and scalpel drill. You know, like a scalpel, like a doctor's, you know, surgical
like
tool. Yeah. And he said that, hey, you know, we're Army Special Forces guys, so we have big rucksacks. Our natural inclination is to keep on putting bigger rocks into our rucksack. And the next thing you know, you got this huge old, you know, 90-pound rucksack and you can't even walk around the block, you know? And he said, okay, if you're going to put a rock in your rucksack, or if you're going to take on that new idea and that new way of life, you got to take the scalpel and you got to cut out an equivalent rock out of there, because you can't maintain a balanced and, you know, fruitful life if your rucksack is freaking 90 pounds. And so, you know, whenever we would take on new things, he would really push the organization to do that, because if you're taking on too much, then you're not going to be good at anything. You're going to be like, you know, superficial, you know, 1 inch deep on a bunch of crap, when in actuality, you know, you need to be focusing on what your targets are. So I think
it's like buying more furniture when your house isn't getting any bigger.
Yeah.
All you're going to have is more clutter.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what we end up doing. We end up buying more furniture for our lives, thinking it's going to make us more comfortable. But really, what ends up happening is that there's just more stuff in our way. You know, and when I say stuff in our way, what I'm talking about is sometimes, you know, the spirit of offense in my life. You know, I'm allowing things to offend me. You know, I'm getting ticked off too easily. I'm not mentally setting the intention for my day, mentally and emotionally. Things that get in my way. Becoming too, you know, this was brought to my attention just the other day, too rigid on what we need to get our workout. A lot of times I'm racing up there because I feel I need the squat rack, and I'm racing against 15 to 25 other guys, and I'm getting irritated. It's like traffic on I-5.
Yeah.
You know, everyone, you're trying to cut people off before you know it. You got road rage going on. Rather than saying, hey, I'm going to get to the destination and I'm going to get the best workout I can get with the equipment that's available.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's, you know, it's not that, hey, you don't need the squat rack for leg day, but it's being flexible. It's being adaptable in life rather than being extremely rigid. And when he's talking about this hero's journey, man, like, you need to be aware that mentors and divine teachers are going to come into your life, and you need to be ready to receive them. Hey, listen, man, less than a minute left. Stephen Pressfield, The Artist's Journey. Not only do we recommend that book, there it is there, you're holding up right now. Do the Work is another one, The War of Art. This guy's got some great ideas, and I really appreciate his books, and I really don't think we're done with everything he had to say, but it was a good conversation today.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be bringing it back, you know, as we go on our artist journey here, collaborating. I'm pretty excited about it. His analogy, I think, is, you know, rings true with me, and I think that's what's pretty cool about it. And we're going to be jumping into some more books with Ryan Holiday and whatnot. That
how can they reach us?
Yeah,
how can they reach us?
We got the website, colonelandconvict.com, and we'll get that advertised so people can follow us. I love you, Drew. Have a good one.
Love you, man. Have a good one.